Next question I have: what is the worst management advice you got in your life? Now, when you look
Oh,
back.
wow. Okay. So I would say probably one of the worst mistakes that I made early in my career. It was not something that anyone said directly, but it was something that I read in a lot of books, and I maybe I translated that differently in my mind. It was about it was when I was starting as a people manager, when I had the first group that was reporting to me. I start to read a lot about feedback. It's like, okay, your main job as a manager is to give feedback. It's to like feedback every week, every one-on-one feedback. And I feel that one of the worst mistakes I made was to share raw feedback with someone that was not doing great. So basically, I got someone that was not doing great in a different group move under me, and I start to hearing from a lot of people, oh, this person is not doing great. He's getting out of the way. He's wasting a lot of time. And I decided to do a 3-6 feedback for this person. And I collected maybe 10, 12 pieces of feedback from like 12 people. And what I didn't do was to reflect on everything that was being shared and summarize and see maybe one, two, a max of 3 points that I wanted that person to do. What I did was I pretty much like did like a dump of every single feedbacks that were highly emotional. I basically read the feedbacks that I got directly to the person, and you can imagine how this person felt.
Right. Right.
And it was today this person is a great friend and we talk, but it was really stressful for both of us
True.
for maybe 2 years.
Right.
And it's like you have to be careful with feedback.
Mm.
I and you have to start with positive feedback,
True.
even if someone is doing badly. I know that's not what managers or people that really advocate for feedback,
Right.
right? But that's how you build trust, right? And you should almost like there is this quote from James Clear that I listened to a podcast, and he says, "Praise the good, ignore the bad." It's almost like that, right? For a while, you have to praise what's working, even if that's very minimal. And then once you get to the habit, then you start to bring in, oh, maybe you could do this a little different. Unless if it is a super unhealthy behavior and something that offended someone and
Right.
happening a meeting was disruptive. But I would be really careful of how you give feedback. You should prepare as a manager.
You're right.
You should almost rewrite and like train that, especially if it is like the first couple of direct reports you have. Right. Talk to your spouse, talk to a friend. Like it's almost is that coming off? Like you need to be super careful because it's super harmful to a lot of people.
Right.
But it's a different philosophy than you see out there. It's
Right.
like, no, it needs to be straight. It needs to be like I've in my experience, it was harmful. So it's one of the most harmful pieces of feedback I see. And especially if you don't have enough trust, right?
Right.
If the person is not asking for that, if the
Right.
person is resistant, right? It's like it's better to like let the person digest, don't give a feedback, just ask, can you think about this for this week and see if there is anything you would do better. Rather than it's like almost stimulate self-reflection versus then say this was wrong. I like as a manager, I can tell you that not the behavior I want to see, and kind of like put the person on a position where they feel almost intimidated. They
Right.
feel that is not my kind of management,
Right.
but
True. True.
is yeah.
So yeah, so I was asking about the worst management advice you got is about giving a raw feedback, and this is kind of becoming a best management advice from you also, that don't take the raw feedback and just dump it on the candidate, but massage it
Yeah,
and put it in the right way. So that's very important. So
I would say the other thing is take the feedback. If you do 360, don't take them as everyone. So every person that's giving that feedback has their perspective, their day to day. They're not seeing that person, what that person is doing, what kind of pressure that person is, right? As a manager, you have to almost say, what here, even if there are 10 points of like improvement for that person, what here is the most pressing and the one that is like is almost like that idea of like, when you have to pay debt, right? There is that what's called the snowball idea that you pay your smallest piece of debt first, right? And then you get into a snowball, and then you pay the big ones later. It's almost, start with something that is impactful but is easy. Don't go to something that
Right.
goes to the heart of the problem. And ask yourself, do I agree? Is that true in my experience as a manager? Is that more than, is it only one person saying that, or is it a pattern? Is your job as a manager to identify the problems that everybody's seeing and that you have seen as well? It doesn't mean that the person that said a particular feedback that was the only person that said is wrong. It just means that you cannot take one perspective and pass it through to the person. Is more harmful than helpful.
Perfect. Yeah, true. So I know I'm taking a lot of your time, but I have just last two questions.
Yeah,
And then I
let's
have a
do it.
lot of other questions. I'll do a part two with you.